Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a great day. So today we're going to continue on with ink smooshing. This is part two. We're going to be using distress oxides and a piece of, nope, not that. I thought I had a piece of this out, but apparently I did not. So it's hidden here somewhere. Whoops. A piece of stamp packaging or anything that's clear, acetate kind of thing, okay? And I'm going to show you why we want to use this. So if you saw the previous video of ink smooshing and thought, ooh, that's way too hit and miss or way too, that's a little much for me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Today might be the it might change it for you, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. So this technique will also work with distress inks, with the Lavinia elements, anything that you can do, add water to your inks, this will work with, okay? So today I'm going to be playing in, so same as last time, especially when you're starting, you want to use colors that are beside each other kind of on the color wheel. So if you want to think about, if I add yellow and blue, I get green. So obviously blue would be a part of green. So that's going to coordinate together. And then as I add red and blue, I get purple. So that would work together, right? Because blue, yellow, and red are, of course, the three primary colors, and most other colors are differing shades of those mixed together. So now I would not do purple and green together. These things look stunning, but they're on opposite sides of the color wheel. So you really have to watch when you're putting these two together. I'm just planning on using this just kind of in a few areas around the edge, which helps because I'll be able to do a little bit more control with this particular technique this time. Okay, so I have the colors that I have for distress oxides. I've got Wilted Violet, Uncharted Mariner, I have Peacock Feathers, Tumbled Glass, Mowed Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. So those are the colors that I'm going to play with today. So kind of doing a sea-ish theme, right? Like grass and kind of like a water background is kind of what I'm aiming for. We'll see how it turns out. All right, so let's get started. So again, how I'm going to start with this is I'm going to put some color down on my glass mat. Okay, so that's the other thing that you're going to need. You're going to need a heating tool. Okay, so a heat tool, whether you're using the barrel kind or this hairdryer kind or something that's going to be able to dry your paper, your cardstock. You're going to need some inks and you're going to need a non-porous surface, something that you can kind of dab onto or lift color from. So, and I'm also going to be using the packaging. This is actually what I store my cards in. Yeah, and water. Okay, that's what we're going to be using today. So I'm going to start with these. So, and you can see how bright compared to the last video that I did when I was using the distress inks, you can see the chalkiness of the oxides, right? Like they look very opaque. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm going to add down a little bit of peacock feathers. Okay, so I've got tumbled glass and peacock feathers. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my water. And this is how you can see where it oxidizes. So you saw the color of what it was, and then I added water to it and it brightened it automatically. Okay, so I'm just adding some water. Now I'm going to bring in my piece of cardstock, and this is just, I think this is hammer mill. Yeah, it's just a piece of 100-pound cardstock. It doesn't, you don't need to be using, you don't need to be using watercolor cardstock, but you do want something thicker than a 65. In fact, when I was using this in the last video, it was a little iffy, touch and go, but it still worked out okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of acetate or my piece of stamp packaging, and I'm just going to dab it into my color. And now I'm going to take it over to my piece of cardstock, and I'm going to put it down. Okay, just adding the color where I'm deeming it necessary or where I want to add it in. Okay, so you can see if I can use my fingers and pick up those pieces of color there and then use my finger, put it down in specific places of where I want it. Okay, move that out of the way. So I want a little bit of blue around some of the edges here still. I'm noticing because I'm liking this lighter blue. And let's get some of the peacock feathers going around the edges. Okay. Now I want to dry this level. So I'm going to bring in a silicone guy here, because again, same as the last time, if I want to layer my colors, I need to dry in between. Okay. Otherwise, they'll just continue to move together. That's not necessarily what I want. I mean, if that's what happens, it's not the end of the world, but which is why you pick colors that are similar, right? Like are close to each other on the color wheel, because if they move together, you're just getting a new shade, right? So if you get yellow and blue, you're just going to get differing shades of green if they match and kind of flow together. But if I want it to stay the color that I have already, I need to make sure that I'm drying in between. Okay. Okay, not bad, not bad. Now I'm going to come in and I want to pick up some more of this lighter blue color and see if I can get that on top of some of the peacock feathers here. Might need to re-ink my pads here. So versus in the last video, you saw me kind of turning my card over and dabbing it down, which then led me to not being able to see very much, right, of what I was doing. So now I'm just going to take a piece of baby wipe and I'm going to wipe off my little palette here. And I managed to smoosh this all over the heck and heck. Okay, so I'm going to give that a quick wipe. Now I want to bring in some of the greens because I want to add some tones on top of this. I am going to give that a quick little dry. Just fold that in so that it's continuing to kind of keep its shape. So that hopefully by the time I'm done, it's not quite as warped as my last was. Now I'm going to bring in my 2 shades of green, and I'm not going to put down quite as much, I think, because I think that the green is going to be a little, it's going to add a lot of depth, but I don't want too much tone to it. That's not quite the right word that I'm looking for, but I want to be able to move it around, but I still want to keep a lot of the blue is basically what I'm saying. Okay, so I've still got a little bit of blue on the plastic here, but that's okay. So now I'm going to pick up some of the green, the lighter green, and I'm just going to kind of come in and turn it in a couple of spaces. Then you can see here how I'm thinking that I might be able to add some purple without to this, like to add that depth of color and then depth of field, right? Like there's often, that's why you add a little bit of black to something, is to make some of your colors pop a little bit more. So that's what I'm thinking some of that purple will help to do, is to put some of that in there. Because it's layering on top of these colors. So I don't want to add too much green. To the side there. Look at that. It's turning out very cool. This is one of the first times I've ever done this. I don't do a lot of ink smooshing. I tend to do more direct to paper with my ink pads, things like that. But this is a great way to not have to use a ton of ink. Like I just smooshed them a couple of times, right, for each of these, which you could see. Okay. So let's dry this. Because when you're using direct to paper, obviously, you're using a lot of ink that will be, your ink pads will dry out a lot quicker. So sometimes you don't want to be doing that. This is a very efficient way of moving ink around your paper without it having to soak into your paper a lot, like having a ton of ink soaking into your paper. Has anybody got big plans for their summer vacation? It's beginning of June here. Well, actually, it's closer to the 9th. I think it's the 9th of June today when I'm filming this. So I'm doing a whole bunch of videos today before I go on vacation. I'm leaving on the 12th. for about 12 days. And hubby and I were taking a couple of days and we're going to drive into the States. We're going to go down to Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene, which we've driven through once, but we've never actually been to. So we're going to kind of go down there and explore and do some shopping. And it's always nice to hit the States because there's a lot of products that you can get down there that you can't get here in Canada. So we're going to kind of check those out. Well, you can often get it here in Canada, but often can cost a lot more, or even shipping to here in Canada can be so expensive. So yeah, we're gonna go and do that and just kind of explore for a couple of days, which would be nice. And then we're going to Radium with my family, which my family has a timeshare there, so we get to spend a week with my parents and my brother and sister-in-law and the two kids, which will be so much fun. Okay, so now we're starting to get the differing layers. Like you can start to see here where like there's a lighter blue under here, then there's a darker blue, there's a little bit of green on top. Okay, so you can see how by drying it in between, and particularly with the oxides, they are meant to, because they have a pigment, they are meant to sit on top of each other. These will soak in, but not nearly as much as you'll notice from the distress inks, because that's a dye-based ink, right? So if you watch the last video, you'll see it when I turned it over to dry it, the paper was almost fully saturated on the back as well. But on this one, it's not as much. Now we have added water and there is still some dye properties to a distress ink, but it is a pigment and dye-based ink. So it's meant to be kind of chalky and it sits on top of them. Okay. So let's try a couple of these darker colors now. So I'm going to pull out the Uncharted Mariner. Give it a squeegee there. Those. Let's bring out my little palette, and we're going to go smushy, smushy, smushy. I don't think you have to have the same smushy, smushy, smushy while you're doing it, but it does add some fun to it. That in. Some more. Yeah, I'm liking that darker color on there. That's nice. So in the Uncharted Mariner is this really interesting color in that it has obviously the blue, but it also has it's quite a sea color because there's a little bit of green to it. So when you put it up with other colors, you start to like when you do like the Chip Sapphire or the Faded Jeans, which is the Distress Lines dark blue, then you get that really cool hint of green to it, which you can really see. Okay, so we've got the peacock feathers, the varying shades of green. We've got still some tumbled glass in the bottom here, and then the darker blue color. Which was the Uncharted Mariner. Now, the nice thing about doing it this way too is I'm not adding a ton of water to my project. Or to my cardstock, which is also good, which is why I am getting some curling, but I'm not getting the folding in the cardstock like I did with the last one. Okay, so now I'm going to pull out the wilted violet just to add a little bit of purple, few purple spots, not a lot, just want a little bit, but we're going to spritz that in here. Yeah. Just because, you know, in the ocean, sometimes it's nice to have a couple of those differing colors. Purple in here, and purple pieces in here. There we go. I'm happy with that. I don't want to do, like I said, I don't want to do a lot of purple. Just want it to kind of brighten it up a bit. So I'm going to pick this up. And then for the last layer, so I'm going to dry this off again, just dry it off again so that the purple gets set. So and some of you might be looking at what this is. This is called the Heat It craft tool by Ranger. It is a heating tool. It gets very, very hot. It looks like a hair dryer, but it is not a hair dryer. Please don't use it on your hair. But I use this one because it's great for mixed media. It's really good for drying your paper. It's a little slower, so you can dry adhesive. You can heat emboss with this, but it does take a little bit more time compared to the barrel style ones. The barrel style ones go dry so quick and have so much air being pushed out of them that you can often end up burning your project if you're not careful. So for this one, now that I'm doing a little bit more mixed media, which is things like this and making my own backgrounds and stuff like that, it's I like to use this one. So now I'm going to change this up just a little bit because I've got all of these really nice deep colors, but now I want to bring out some of the lighter color again. So I'm going to bring out my tumbled glass, and this time I'm going to go directly onto my piece of acetate here, or the packaging. Okay, so you can see here, so I've kind of squished down onto there. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of water. And now I can turn this over and I want to get my fingers down into some areas because I don't want to have, because of course the distress inks they're pretty square, right? So I don't want to have square edges. I just want to make sure that I'm putting that color into the areas on top of some of the purple, on top of some of the green, like that. Okay. And I'm going to take my squidgy and just wipe that off. There we go. Now you can keep this, use it for something else, or just keep it as your palette for doing this kind of technique, whichever you prefer, whatever. Okay, actually, while I've got it, no, I'll dry it and then I'll do some spatter. So again, we've got this kind of colorful, multi-layered, different dimensions background. Okay. So, and again, some of you will be like, oh, Corinne, what am I supposed to do with that? It's so busy. There's so much on the go. These are great things to do if you've got cover plate dies. If you find that it's too busy for you, start off with cover plate dies or large dies and, practice with that. Then you can get really good at how do I put together a similar part? How do I put this together? How do I change it up? How do I just use a simple die or an image that I colored or something like that? Right? Okay, so you can see now I've started adding a little bit more water and it's starting to curl a little bit more. That's okay. Okay. So now I'm just going to spritz a little bit of water onto my craft mat and I'm going to take my fan brush. And now, because again, distress oxides are water reactive, so I'm going to do a little bit of faux bleaching. What this will do is it will pull color out of some of those areas. Not all of them, which is good because you spent all that time putting the color down. Why would you want to pull out the color? All right. Okay. And let's just dry that again. Okay. I think I'm just gonna let that cool for a second. Show you. So this is the difference. So this is the panel that left over from the panel that I used in the last video where I was using the distress inks. So look at the back of this. Look at how much of that saturated through. And this is just the leftover that I cut off. There was a lot more, obviously, to the panel. It was a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And so you can see here where there's a lot that came through on a lot of those colors. Look at the difference on the distress oxides. And again, it's because there's pigment in it. So even though, so these were made to soak into your paper. So I've added water and it has soaked into your paper. The distress oxides have a pigment base to them. So they have a dye, but they also have a pigment base to them. So they are a chalkier finish, but they don't fully saturate your paper. This is because they had water added to them that in those areas where they came through. But now I'm going to bring this up so you can see the different layers and how it's layered on top. So the one that I'm going to show right here. So we've got the light tumbled glass. We've got the peacock feathers. We've even got a little bit of the mariner. We've got some of the greens in there, which was mowed lawn and rustic wilderness. So there's the rustic wilderness, there's the mowed lawn, and then we've even got the wilted violet. All of these different are showing all of the colors. None of them are mixed together. So see, I've got the mowed lawn, and then the purple went over top of it. But look it's not brown, it's purple. So that's the really cool thing about distress oxides. They are meant to layer on top of each other. The difference is though, is that you have to make sure, see, because here's another one. So I've got the purple underneath and then some green. No, it can't be purple underneath because I did the purple after, but so there's some purple there on top of the green. And again here, and it is still purple, or you can see a blue tinge to it. It's not brown, okay, which is very, very good. Okay. So let's talk about what would I do for a card on this. Okay, so I've trimmed this is a 4¼ by 5½. So I would trim it down to have a regular, whatever you want to call it, like a card base, an A2 size. But look at what happens when you take a large die. So this is very busy, right? Like that's kind of hard to conceive of. What am I going to do with something like that? But now I take a large die. So you could do it in black or white. So this is a beautiful silhouette. And look at that, makes it so simple. If I put this up top here, I even have room for a happy birthday sentiment or thinking of you or thanks. So that's one thing that we could do. And I didn't pull these out, but I had this idea while I was finishing I could also, I don't know, my shapes here. Oh, those are the Christmas shapes. Oh, I don't know what to. I don't know where my shapes are. This is the problem with winging it. Oh, here we go. Here they are. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to find my, excuse me, I had to find my baggie of all of these guys here. Now, look at how cute. Now, these are ones that I've already colored, but look at that. I could put a set of balloons on there and then do a really cute, what about a happy birthday? Just like that. Now that is a very, very cute card. I really like that. That's cute. Now, the other thing that I have on the go here is I have colored these adorable, goofy little, I wonder if that could work. Put that there. Looks like he's holding some balloons, maybe. Except he's kind of at the beach, so that kind of doesn't work. But if I were to go like this, and then just do a nice, simple happy birthday. How cute is that? Now, I think I need somebody who's got a little bit more saturation to them, because that one's a little blendy. It's a little pale, but she's cute. I also have, let's see, I could also very simply do happy birthday like that. So lots of cute options. I also have, let me see here. But you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I am going to do that because I really like it. It's so cute. It's one of the stamp sets I sold actually at the garage sale last weekend. It's because I don't use it very often. And I'd have to fussy cut it because it doesn't have a die. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim down card panel, or card front, because you want to have a nice, I want to have a nice little border. So I'm going to cut this down to be so that it's 4. I want the colors at the bottom here. So I'm going to trim it down so that it's 4 by 5¼ Yeah. All right. That away. Now, Like I told you in the last video, if you have, like you can see here, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's, my paper is warped. It's not as bad as the last one, but my paper is warped. So you can run it through your die cutting machine and that will help flatten it out. You can leave it under a book for a couple of days kind of thing, like some heavy cardstock or something like that, paper pack. That'll work like a darn. But if you're impatient, such as myself, like myself, you can use foam tape. Foam tape will help to straighten it out a little bit so that when you put it down onto your card, it will stick. And I don't know, something about the foam tape just holds it a little bit straighter. I don't know why, it just does. So I do my best to get it as close to the edge as possible so that the edges don't curl under. Okay. And my foam tape is not anything special. It's actually from the dollar store, Dollarama here in Canada. It's a foam mounting tape. I really like it. It's not super thick. It's only like about maybe 2 millimeters thick. It's not very thick, which is nice. So you just get that little bit of depth and dimension without it being too like way off your card or possibly getting squished or having a cave in or something like that, because that can happen when you're using foam tape, right? Is that if it's going through the mail, any place that doesn't have foam tape will possibly dent or whatever. So I like to, this is nice. So it's just thin and it's inexpensive. So I can use as much as I want, which is always nice. Okay, so I'm going to pull off a little bit more here. Foam tape fuzzy there. That's kind of funny. And here, kind of cut that funny, whatever. One here, and one here. There we go. Now I need a card base, and I think one of these that I did. So I like to have card bases already ready to go, already ready. I like to have them ready to go, pre-prepped, folded, scored, all of that. So I have some really nice colored card bases here. I've got a purple. I think the purple might be the winner. Did I grab two? Or this color as well. Look at those, right? So these are all colors that kind of, I think this blue is a little too washed up. So I'm going to put that one back. Okay, now what are we thinking? Now that pops off there. That's not too bad. It's kind of cute, right? Except for I think that there's too much of that color in there versus if I think if we go with the purple, like it really does help all of that purple kind of pop off of there. So I think I'm going to do the purple. Yeah, I'm going to do the purple. Okay, so I'm going to put this one back. And let's peel our cardstock. Make sure we're opening it the right way. We are. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel my adhesive. This is the benefit of having nails. This is much more difficult when I've cut off my nails or bitten them off, whatever. As long as usually if I've got nail polish or whatever on, this usually isn't a problem. But as soon as I take it off, my nails are quite brittle, fragile. I take collagen, mostly to help with my hair because I have very thin hair as well. Lots of hair, but it's very thin. So I have a female baldness in the back of my head. But I take collagen to help thicken that and so that it helps to not lose as much, but also really helps keep my nails strong, which is good because I do like my nails to be strong. But they get peeling a lot when I don't if I'm not taking, if I haven't got something on them, like a polish or these stickers or whatever. And So now I'm just gonna kind of measure it in there, try and get it as straight as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, because again, this is not Hallmark. This is creating with Kareen. Okay, so really liking that little hit of purple all the way around. And think I'm gonna stick down this. Now I could pop it up a little bit and do, I like this happy birthday with this though too. It's kind of cute. So I think I could stick the happy birthday down and then just pop the balloons up a little bit. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's cute. Okay, so I'm going to stick this down and I'm going to try and get, because of course when you're using vellum, you want to try and your adhesive will be visible through it. So where I'm going to try and get it is these are thick enough that I can try and just get my liquid adhesive to just hit in the areas here where behind the sentiment. And that should be enough to catch it to stick down, because it's not a super heavy duty sentiment. Okay, so if I get this and that, go into the thing. Okay, happy birthday. And do I have a stamp block out? I do not. Okay, so let's do that. And now I'm going to take some foam tape and put it on the back of here. Here. And catch this part here. That's nice. Good. Okay. Then I'm going to try and catch the edges here. I'm going to cut my foam tape down the center. This is another reason why I like this foam tape, because it's not super thick, but it can be easy enough to cut. Most foam tape is though. So, but again, I can't beat the price point on this because I think it's like I get so much here for very, very little, which is great. And I think I might have cut that too much, but that's okay. So now, again, I need some thinner pieces here. Out. The other go right there. Oh. Okay, actually move that to the side here. So I want to try and catch some of these edges of these balloons here, because those will also, like in the mail, if I'm mailing this, they'll have pressure on them as it goes through the mail machines and things like that, when it goes through rollers and whatnot. So I'm just trying to catch some of these edges here. And there. It's a little edge here. Okay. And yeah, it's okay. All right. So I've pretty much got everything covered here. There's a little area there that I could try and get a sliver in if I needed to. Cut that down a little bit here so you can see I just keep trimming them, keep trimming them. Of course, all of these little pieces then need to be pulled off, which is always woohoo. Okay, so when you're using your little trimmer guys here too, so if you need to clean these off, because these will get sticky. These are not bad. These are Teflon, but they are not bad. They still do get some stick. So I like to use little alcohol swabs. Works like a darn to get your adhesive, any stuck adhesive off there. So that works good. Just as a FYI for anybody who's, how do I get this adhesive off? Okay, and a little piece here. So when I am sticking this down, I want to make sure that everything is covered well enough, but I also want to be careful because each one of these pieces that I stick down now has to be peeled off too, which is also a pain in the butt. So you want to watch for that. Okay, so that is now stuck down, and we're going to start peeling all of our little pieces here. Put them off to the side. When I'm peeling these, I like to leave some of the bigger pieces for last, just because it gives me a place where I can put my finger down if I need to hold on to something. Because of course, the more that I stick my finger on there, then the more the oils from my finger are going to go onto the adhesive and then remove some of the stickiness, which I don't want to have happen. I don't want this coming off of the front of my card. And if I remove some of that stickiness, then that is a possibility. I mean, it takes a lot, obviously. This is, some of these are pretty big pieces of sticky, but some of these little guys, there wouldn't take very much for my finger to cover the whole thing, and then just remove the stickiness by getting some oils or whatever else I've got on my fingers here, right? So that's been peeled. Been peeled. Let's get this guy off. And this one, big piece. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I want to make sure that I've got it going in the correct direction. And I'm going to, yeah. So I don't want to cover up my happy birthday, but I do want the H and the B to kind of fall in this kind of curvature here of where the balloons are going. There we go. Oh, that's cute. Love it. Look at that. That's cute. And then I can get, because of course I have some pearls and whatever in these colors, and I can do a couple of liquid pearls or, yeah, like flat back pearls or some Nouveau drops in some of these matching colors here and just put those on there as well to give it a little bit more zhuzh and zing. But that is going to be our card for today. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Super fun. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, concerns, please do leave them in the comment section. Remember to keep it kind. And please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and family. I would love to hear from you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.